The pharmaceutical company Pfizer says a clinical trial of a new pill to treat COVID-19 shows that the drug is highly effective. The product is called Paxlovid and is reported to have achieved an 89% reduction in the risk of hospitalisation or death. That's among adult patients with coronavirus who are at high risk of progressing to severe illness. President Biden says the drug has huge potential.
Last night, we received promising news about another potent and potential COVID treatment. A pill developed by Pfizer that may dramatically reduce the risk of being hospitalized or dying when taken shortly after infection, if you're infected. If authorized by the FDA, we may soon have pills that may treat the virus of those who become infected. We have already secured millions of doses, and the therapy would be another tool in our toolbox to protect people from the worst outcomes of COVID.
Well, we can now speak to John Swartzberg, who's a clinical professor emeritus at UC Berkley's Infectious Diseases and Vaccinology Division. Professor Swartzberg, thank you very much for being with us. Tell us, what does the data from Pfizer show?
Well, the data was very encouraging. It showed that in the group that received the pill, within 3 days of becoming ill, it prevented hospitalization in roughly 90% of the participants, and there were no deaths. In people who took it within 5 days, it prevented hospitalization and death by 85%. So clearly, the data that was released by a press release is very, very encouraging. I do want to mention, though, that this was press release data and has not been vetted by scientists or physicians yet.
How does this drug work against fighting coronavirus?
Well, it's actually two drugs. One of them is really old. It's called ritonavir, and it was developed in the very late 1980s as a drug that worked quite well against HIV when it was combined with other medications. And it's been part of the HIV regimen for many, many people over the last 3 decades. It's shown itself to be effective and safe, taken for long periods of time. So that's very encouraging. Ritonavir is combined with a newer drug that works very similarly. These are called protease inhibitors. This newer drug was originally designed for SARS-CoV-1, the 2002-2003 pandemic from that virus, the cousin of our current virus now. But of course, that virus died off very quickly, so it was never used. But it's been rehabilitated, if you will, combined with ritonavir, that shows it to be quite active against this virus, SARS-CoV-2, our virus currently.
Plenty of positives there, it sounds like. Are there any negatives, anything we need to be cautious of?
Well, I think the main thing to be cautious of right now is to be both enthusiastic, but also say, let's wait until people who do not have a vested interest in the results scrutinize the data very carefully. But if it turns out that this drug is safe and effective, even if it's not quite as effective as the drug company claims, we really have a drug that will be incredibly useful, not just for the developed world, but for the developing world as well.
Is there a concern that people will rely on medication like this and won't take up vaccination rollouts instead?
That's a great question, and there is a concern about that. It would be foolish to look at it this way. Here's the way I look at it. If you get fully vaccinated, you've got this incredible shield around you, preventing hospitalization and death with the mRNA vaccines like Pfizer and Moderna, up to close to 90%. So if you've got that shield around you, and then you have, in case you do get a breakthrough infection, this other pill that you could take that's going to prevent you from being hospitalized by another 90%, you can see how secure that's going to make people, even people who are over 65 and at much greater risk, or people who are immunocompromised, or people with underlying problems like diabetes, chronic lung disease, and heart disease. So it's going to allow people to really be back in the world and feel much more confident about it. I think the one thing that's terribly important to remember, though, this drug is for treatment. It's not going to prevent the spread of this virus. It's not going to make the virus go away. People are contagious when they get COVID for about 2 days before they even know they're sick. So they're spreading it for a good while. So while this pill is going to help very much, it's the vaccine that's going to stop this virus in its tracks.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there. Professor John Swartzberg from UC Berkley, thank you very much for sharing your expertise with us.
You're welcome. Thank you.